Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Where's Wally podcast. So, like I mentioned in my previous video, I have a ton of data dumps. I actually used to run a program that collected data dumps and exploited them, essentially. So, what I wanted to do this morning is show an example of how I go about doing this. Now, one thing I want to say for everybody, I am not the person who hacked this organization, so none of this is illegal at all. When people get breached, it's very, very common for that hacker group to take that information and put it somewhere. A lot of times they try to sell it, but a lot of times they just put it out there for free. So it just depends. I mean, every case is individual. Sometimes they ask for the ransom, obviously ransomware, right? They lock up a system cryptologically. They ask for a ransom. If that ransom's not paid, they do X, Y, and Z. So that's very, very common, unfortunately. But that's why there's, cyber threat intelligence, threat hunters working, with companies worldwide to help prevent a lot of this. So also for the record, so the CSV, this data dump itself was called NGO box. Okay, there was 3 CSV files and 1 text file. Text file essentially has nothing in it. One of those CSVs is an admin file, and then there's NGO job seekers and job seeker registration. And I've redacted this. So let me zoom in a little bit on the screen here, right? So the visible parts of this, and basically I have this saved differently, and then I have the original. So for the actual, let's say, intelligence value, I would not redact, but because this is a public forum, even though these individuals are in India, I decided to go and redact what's visible to the audience. So starting off, what do we have? Let me go down just a tad. Oops, that's going big. Okay, so this is a CSV, comma separated value. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, but it's in a different form. This one has ID. The ID here, I'm not going to add because it's arbitrary. It's just 1 through, and there's about 12,000 on this list. We have email, first name, last name, title, status. Now, I don't know what status means in this case, but it seems to be only ones and zeros. So for this example, I'm going to leave that out altogether. The password. So most of the passwords were pretty simple. What does that tell me? That tells me that this organization doesn't have very strong password requirements, right? Some of them are obviously like you go into Google and it says suggest a strong password, and they're hashed, basically a hash value. Those are present, but most of them are just real simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I need to redo this. Let's see if it works. Nope. Let's go here. I wanted that because in Analyst Notebook, in Alice Notebook, if it's identical, it will merge into each other. That's weird. It's not doing the follow on. I'll just put some random numbers in here. And letters, it doesn't really matter for this. This is just a test. Da, 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 da. Ah, da, da, da. And then I'll just take away from here. But as you can see, all the numbers are 8675309, blah, blah, blah. Okay. That should be good for now. There will be a few that are connected, but that's okay. This is, like I said, a test. And also what you see here is current city. You see admin, you see current state, the date that they were registered on, and if they're a subscriber or not. So let's get to work. All right, so first things first. We have to combine the first name and the last name. This is actually really simple. I didn't know how to do this for years, at the beginning of my career, but obviously the commands in the commands in Excel were a lot different back in the day, or some of them were. So here's what we do. I'm going to go past the first name and last name, and I'm going to press insert. And from there, I'm going to, this is the row that I want the first name and last name to combine into. You press equal. And then I'm going to click the first row. So first name, the first entry. And quote, space, quote, and then I'm going to click on the second row. And you can see that it lined it up, and then I press enter. And then, okay, see, that worked. So I have the first name combined with the second name. That's what I'm actually going to use when I import this into Analyst Notebook. So now I need to save this. I'm going to save this just to my desktop. Actually, I'll just save it right back in that folder. I'm going to name it podcast. Let's go to save. And this will take just a minute. Okay, now we're done. So now you have to completely close out of it. And now this is Analyst Notebook. I love this program. I've been using it for many, many, many years. It's been a force multiplier for me personally. It did take me a long time to really, really figure it out. Although I used it the whole time from, let's say, 2004 till now. It's changed a lot, but it is one of the best intelligence programs out there as far as I'm concerned. So now I'm going to go, I have a blank screen, and the other trick of the trade is you go into Task Manager, and for Analyst Notebook, whether you're on a desktop or a laptop, you set the device priority high for these programs. They are very resource intensive, and the more power from the computer you give them, the better it works. I think that's fairly obvious. So, okay, so we're going back and podcast, and then NGO, and then the file that I just showed you, and we're going to open that. Okay, so from here, I have to build the actual algorithm that's going to import that file and then visualize it. It's essentially, think of it as A to B, right? So A touches B, B touches C, C touches D, etc. And that can go as long as you want, thousands of rows, if you so choose to take the time to do it. For this data, there's 3 files that have very similar data. It might work, may not. So I'm going to click on Create New Specification, and then I'm going to say OK. Okay, so this is cool. I'll make this, I'm going to go forward first because a lot of this stuff don't really need. And I'm going to do a more complex association chart. Click Next. And I'm going to make this big. Okay, so basically, here's what's going on here. Let me make that a little bigger. Okay. This here will be the visual representation of this up here. But I have to tell it, it's basically, think of it as just the same thing on a different layer. So I have to tell the top, hey, this is this, and it touches this. So I'm going to start with email. Just going to drop that there. Remember, I'm excluding first and last name, and I am going full name. And then title. So I click on the actual icon here. And let me move this over so you guys can, I don't think I can zoom in on this, but yeah, I can. Okay. This is like basically my data prompt over here. So I've clicked on 5. I want title to be a describer or an attribute of number 5. So I clicked on 5, and these are now where it's blank here in the gray. That is my describe it section. And so I'm going to pull this down, and then where 6 is, I'll just start typing in TI title. And then I say, okay. And then you see it's got this little icon right here. That is the icon for title, and that'll be a describer. So it's not an entity, it's a descriptor. Status, we are leaving that blank. For the email, what we're going to do is I'm going to move number 2 is email. I am going to, how am I going to do this? Let's see what's smart. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. I am going to, instead of making password its own icon, I'm going to make it a describer per icon. So I'm going to type in PA password. Okay, so now you see this PW under for every row, and this is linear, right? So this email is associated with this password, right? So now on the screen, visually, you'll have email here and then the password there. Let's see, telephone. Let's pull telephone down to this one. And then let's do this. These are locations. Current state. And all right, so now I got to add a link to these two. This is going to be lives at and location of. And let's see, registered on. Let's add that as an attribute because in this file, as it stands, now I can go in and add, I can modify. But here, nowhere in here does it say where they registered to. These are too general. They'll just a yes and no, a 1 and a 2 with 12,000 things. It's going to be about 50-50. So everything's going to cluster into one. So we want to stay away from that because that's doesn't tell you much. Well, I think what we'll do for that is, let me go back up here, registered on. Let's drag that down as a describer. REG. I'll just write registration. Or actually, I'll just do date and I'll know it. Let's do date added. Yeah, there we go. That'll work. So now I have to give the items on the screen are blank, and I have to give them an icon. And so we know that number 2 is email. I'll click on number 2. Under type and entity, I'm just going to start writing email, and then pop right up. Number 9 is telephone. For telephone, we well, these are foreign, but for this, we'll use IMEI, International Mobile Equipment Identifier. That's what that is. Number 5, we're going to just do person generic because in this data set, they haven't separated male and female. I also don't know Indian culture enough to know the names. What is a female name? What is a male name? What could be a neutral name, let's say. So let's just start typing in person. You see person generic pops right up. Oops, there we go. Okay. What is number 10? Number 10 is current city. So let's do CI, city or town. And for this, let's do, do we have a region? I can't remember. Or location. No, let's do state. Yep, boom. Okay. Now, last thing we have to do is we have to basically describe the link. I'm not going to go into the methodology now. I'm just going to say what I'm going to put in there, right? And so you have over here, you can see it says label. I've clicked on the link. So this is between 5 and 9. And I am now going to the label. And there's like 3 ways to do it. And I'll show you, there's probably 20 ways to do this actually, but here's what I'm doing right now. So from 5 to 9, I'm going to do user of, and I could just type it in. I can click over here in the white, boom. All right, so this individual is also the user of that email. So here's another way to do it. I'm going to double click. And when you double click, it says you have blank, same as type name, number of occurrences, and value. In the value section, I'm also going to write user of. For location, I'm just going to do this the easy way. Click inside, and I'm going to type lives at, even though it's not an exact location, it's close enough. And then this link is going to be location of. So what does that all mean? So that means This person lives in this city, and that city is located in this state of India. And let's go ahead and look up here. So also what's kind of cool, and I'll show you this here in just a second, this top row, whatever you add from the top row, uh, it gives you basically a key or a legend, right? And so that like, and I've used this thousands of times where I'll take, I'll have a big graph and then I have this just little tiny thing and I can squish it and I can make it fit into just about any document. And I can say, okay, here's a legend. Here's what this chart represents. And that sometimes makes it make sense to people, sometimes not. But let's go ahead and add that admin approved. I don't think it's going to really change anything, but let's type it, see if there's an admin. AD. Nope. Admin approved. So APP. Nope. Let's try. Oh, group. Yep. We'll do group. So for this, you're either group 1 or group 2 based on whether you've been approved. Huh. I wonder why it's red. If it's red, there might be a blank somewhere, but no, it doesn't look, well, it doesn't do the full thing here. So, all right, so we're ready to go. 12, why did that do? Huh. Okay, well, we'll see. We'll know right away if something's messed up. Trust me, you'll see. But this next part's really cool. So now what I'm doing down here at the bottom, I'm clicking to import. It's going to ask me if I want to save. I'm going to say yes. I'm just going to, I usually don't rename these unless it's a complicated project. Sometimes I'll add a date to it, date and version. So maybe like, today being February 12th, like I might do 02/12/2025 V1. I can go back to that chart and then I say, okay, now I know something different. Here's what I need to change to make all this stuff merge into each other later. I'm going to say yes to the save, and it's going to start going. So you're going to see everything coming on the screen, and it's going to start. It's really cool. So just bear with me. It's coming. There's about 12,000. So 12,000 in one row means 1, 2, 3, 2, 2. It basically, okay, so it has, so about 120,000 entities, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means times 4 links. So about 120,000 entities and then maybe 450,000 links. I didn't look at the exact number. It was not really necessary for this, but it's basically a lot of data. And I also, when I didn't know what I didn't know when I started my Intel career, and this is kind of a passing knowledge on, but yeah, one document. A lot of people don't think of it visually. One single document, not even a large one, can give you an incredibly large amount of data, which is really, really cool, I think. So it's moving. You see the green bar going across. It'll probably take another minute. As many of you might have noticed, NGOs are in the news right now because of what is it, USAID or IAD, but uh, there's a lot of money going out for one, things that don't actually exist, which is a huge issue. Uh, the second is billions of dollars going to programs that aren't doing anything, especially what they were given the money to do. And then I guess anybody who votes in any direction would consider pretty preposterous, right? Like $15 million to Congo to see if seatbelts are effective, right? Yes, seatbelts are effective. Uh, uh, LGBT coloring books in Vietnam, like just stuff. Like it's a bunch of stuff. But here we go. All right. So you see everything on top. It's going to ask me, do I want to? Right now it's rendering, so this still might take another minute or two. But it's moving. At 80, 90. Okay, good. All right, boom. So this is quite larger than I thought. Let's see. Okay, import complete. I'm going to close. And this is just the left side of the chart, and I'm going to show you real quick how epic this is. So what I'm doing is I'm going to the top in a range. A range is basically the style of ontology that it's going to show for me. Right now it's linear, and it goes way, way, way across. I'm going to bring it into what's peacock form. So there's two types of peacock, normal peacock and compact peacock. Let's just start with normal peacock and watch it work. Yeah, this is great. This is one of my favorite parts. Boom, there we go. So that's pretty wild. So that data turned into this. Now, there may have been some mistakes in the data, or what may have happened is, oh wait, well, maybe not. Maybe that's the location. Maybe that's the state. Let's zoom in and see what's here. Yeah, well, that is a mistake. So what I'm going to do with this is null null, which means just a bunch of the rows of that data did not have where they were identical, right? Like a name was missing or something. Yeah, well, this is a person, so the name was missing, the first name and last name, so it became null null. That doesn't have intel value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this completely. And now we have a bunch of emails out there. That's fine. We can find owners for those in a minute. I'm going to go to compact peacock, which is going to take this and put it even smaller. It's going to basically reshuffle the cards and put them into a new castle. It's working. It's thinking. It'll take all these loan. And there's some other weird stuff here. So the data, it's better, obviously, if you go through it and it's very consistent, right? Consistent data gives you a consistent product. And there we go. So that's a little different. Okay, so that big cluster turned into a not so big cluster. And this is what I would consider more accurate right off the bat. You see up here, these are all the emails. So let's just go in on some of those. I'm not going to go too deep because I don't want people to try to like hack these passwords. But let's say there's 2, 3, 4,000 there. These are clusters based on location. So Punjab State, these are the actual towns. And then you have the people after that and their cell phones. I wish I knew where the redacted one was, but let me try. Okay, let me do this actually. Go Control F, and you can't see it on your screen here, but I have it to the left, and I'm going to type in. What am I going to type? Indian phone. Oh, no. 8675. I'm going to 86753. Let's see what pops up. Okay, that makes sense. That holds weight. All right. So what I'm going to do from there is I'm actually going to take this. Oh, need to search again. Crap. Touched the wrong one. All right. So I'm going to find something to grab. I'll grab this. Oh, it won't let me. Huh. How dare you? Okay, cool. All right. So got this, and I'm going to move this out of the way real quick. So basically everything in blue I grabbed, and I'm going to pull it back just a little bit so I can see. Where'd you go? Fit the window. There you are. I'm going to move that right here. Boom. Now I want to see what the connections are to this. So I'm going to go to select connections and ends. Then I'm going to move that again. And from here, what I'm going to do is I am going to do Control C, which is copy. I'm going to open a new chart. I'm pasting that in here. And now what I'm going to do real quick is switch it to just me, and I'm going to take a look, make sure I'm not getting kicked off the internet today. And right now it's doing the same thing. It's okay. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, looks pretty good. All right, so I am going to reshare like this. Boom. Okay. So this one doesn't have any PII in it. All right. Da, da, da. Okay, so these people are all from the city of Ahmedabad, and which is Gujarat. And then so this is what you would say is the typical layout for this, right? So you have city is going to typically be the central because that's going to be the common factor for all these people. It's going to be location, right? So all of these people live in this place, this city, which is in this place. This is their email, and that is their cell. And remember, it's 8675309, but then all the follow-on numbers, because this is an example. This is not an attempt to in any way, shape, or form hurt the actual people who are involved in this, but there's a billion people in India, so I think sharing the first name is not going to really affect anybody. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. And I totally understand to the viewer that you're probably not going to go out and you're not going to buy i2 Analyst Notebook, right? It's pretty expensive. I think it's it's not owned by IBM anymore. It's owned by Harris Computer, and now whoever Harris is deemed worthy of fixing the program and maintaining its value. The new version is really, really, really awesome, though. As I've been told, I've had a little demo, but I just haven't had a chance to get my fingers on it. But that's the point of doing this. Although I'm using the professional intelligence program to show these things, there are open source programs that can do this, like Tableau, Gephi, and there's NEO4J, really great program. There's a bunch of programs that can do something similar. They just do it in different ways. I will be doing some videos on Gephi and how that works. But it's visualizing data is a smart thing to do. When humans read, you can't see the connections like you can visually, and I think that's where programs like this add some huge value when you're trying to analyze data. So let me see here. Let me go off. Let me stop sharing. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do a bunch of videos like this. I'm going to try to kind of crank them out in a wide variety of different topics. I'm going through a bunch of data today in these data dumps. I'm downloading a bunch right now. And so I found some interesting videos with the paramilitary folks. I found some really interesting data from Russia, and I'm going to try to do at least a 30-minute video a couple times today to show what that actually is and show how I approach that type of intelligence data. And as a reminder, everything here is unclassified. Everything's unclassified, and as you saw, I redacted, the stuff that's on the screen right in front of you, and that's intentional. So, but listen, everybody, hey, I like comments. Keep them coming. Please like and subscribe. All I can do is help. I'm pretty close to being able to monetize, and that's a big goal of mine. And ask questions, right? I got some polls, the polls I put in the community area. I am going to do videos on the things that were voted on the most, and I really appreciate your votes on that. As a reminder, like think of data dump. Here's a way to think about data dumps. Okay, you don't know what once the data leaves your head you have no idea where it actually goes. The issue with that is some people do a lot to protect themselves and they still get breached. Some people do nothing and it never leaves their systems, right? The same goes with social media. Never do anything, never say anything that you're going to regret, because these things can be collected and they can be exploited. So, um, at that, everybody have a nice day. I'm going to play the intro video and I'm going to get this posted to to YouTube in just a few, and ask questions and just be good. Okay. So, everybody, have a good day. I'll probably crank out a few more of these in the afternoon. But like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.